Hello, and welcome to Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Dora Mendez. I am the founder and CEO of Coach Dora LLC. Our guests will be entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders that drive social impact. It can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. Hello, and welcome to Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Dora Mendez. I want to thank you for listening and viewing our show. The Building Leadership Community Podcast has been nothing short of transformative. Season 2 really sets the stage to have deeper and more meaningful conversations. Again, thank you to all our listeners and viewers. And if you're new to our podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so that you could learn about when new episodes are posted. So today's a very, very special show. Since launching Building Leadership Community podcast as a champion of inclusion, leadership, growth, and connection, at its very core, we're fostering authentic leadership and encouraging and empowering professionals to build stronger, more engaged communities. Every episode dives into strategies, insights, and personal stories that help leaders navigate their leadership journey with confidence and purpose. So today's show is a little bit different. Our guest today is a raffle winner. So I'm going to read to all of you a little bit about my Dia, partly because I don't want to get emotional. And also because I know that she's a little bit nervous about being on the stage. So I'm going to read a little bit about my lovely Dia. And then we'll bring her onto the stage. So as part of the totally awesome celebration of my 50th birthday with our 1980s party theme, we held a special guest raffle. The lucky winner of our 1980s birthday bash guest raffle was Carmen Mejia. Full transparency, Carmen is my aunt and my mother's sister. No nepotism. Here it was a live raffle, lots of witnesses, and maybe some divine intervention. If you believe in that sort of thing, and she's relaunching her business, Carmen Culture Mix. For those tuning in, Carmen is a dedicated professional in health and wellness, bringing incredible expertise in movement, recreation, and community engagement. Her decades of work empowering individuals mentally, physically, and spiritually through dance, wellness programs, and community outreach is truly inspiring. From leading vibrant cultural movement classes to her impactful work in healthcare settings, Carmen's commitment to well-being is remarkable. Her work includes developing and leading cultural dance and fitness classes such as Latin and African movement and Katia dance, as well as managing wellness initiatives and outreach programs. Recognized for her contributions, she's received a citation from Nassau County, here in New York, Long Island, Nassau County Human Rights Commission for her dedication to the community. As a certified Zumba instructor and consultant, Carmen has collaborated with libraries, sports foundations, and organizations to promote holistic wellness. With extensive experience in assisted living and healthcare centers, Carmen has overseen activity programs for seniors and individuals with dementia, ensuring engagement and enrichment through therapeutic recreation. Her leadership roles in various institutions have allowed her to foster growth, safety, and wellness among diverse populations. Carmen holds a degree in psychology with a minor in dance and has pursued advanced training in movement, fitness, and expressive arts. Through her work, she continues to inspire communities to embrace healing, empowerment, and personal transformation. Carmen, we're thrilled to have you be part of the birthday celebration and as well as being the raffle winner. We hope you enjoy the prize. Again, welcome to the stage, Carmen Mejia.
Thank you, Dora.
Hi, Tia.
Thank you, my lovely niece, who has contributed to me so much in my life as well. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And
We're happy to have you. Congratulations. You're the
yes,
raffle winner.
I do believe in
And
miracles.
so I think that's part of it, right? As you may have heard in the intro, I know you're relaunching and re-engaging Carmen's Culture Mix. So this might have been like some divine intervention to help give you a platform to share your message. And we're going to start with our first conversation prompt. We ask all our guests to share a little bit about their leadership journey and their career trajectory.
Yes, well, my career has started with me very young. Uh, with the YMCA in New York City, Police Athletic League. I traveled right after working with the Jewish Nursing Hospital to North Carolina uh, and had my 15 minutes of fame over there with the African American Dance Ensemble. And I also worked a government job in North Carolina at Butner, the, the Alcohol and Drug Treatment Center. And following that, I traveled a little bit more. I lived in Maryland and worked in Virginia at the Fountains of Washington Heights. And these places had leaders that became my role models. Rick Strickland, Dennis De Rosario, Rosemary, and they really were people who encouraged me to embrace who I was, that they wanted more of me. And believe it or not, I suffered culture shock. You weren't born then. Coming to this country in 1961, and became very shy and introvert. So it's not a coincidence that I am a living testimony of the work that I do, because right now I am really focusing Carmen's cultural mix, transforming it to the healing arts, specifically with dance worship. And it's interesting because it's very spiritual, and it's my way of giving to the community. And when I give to the community, I give to myself. It's wonderful. I My leadership, all these people that have been in my life, in my career, have really taught me that leadership doesn't necessarily have to look a certain way. With you at the front speaking, anywhere in the room that you stand, you are a leader. And it's based on your character, what you contribute to others, and most of all, your listening and your kindness.
I really like what you had to say there about how leadership looks different in different ways. And I think you're one of the few people who lifted up how listening is a very important part of leadership. And I think I just want to share with our listeners and viewers that I remember visiting you in North Carolina when I was a teenager. For those of you watching, I know you don't believe that my aunt immigrated here in 1961. She does not look it at all. We look like sisters, not niece and not niece and
Oh,
aunt. And for those of you listening, you'll see the picture in the thumbnail. You just won't believe it. You just have that youthful spirit, and maybe it's because of all the dancing that you do that keeps you so youthful. I think can you share a little bit more about how about dance therapy and recreational therapy? We haven't had someone who has used the creative arts um in that way on the show. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more with our listeners and viewers about recreational therapy and dance therapy, because you do have a degree in psychology and you have a minor in dance, and somehow you figured out how to meld the two to really provide a service and lead in that space. So if you could share a little bit more about that.
Yes, yes. Like I mentioned, I myself am short, and it's a part of the outcome of the therapy. Coming into this country, I suffer a culture shock. I didn't know I was a Black person. I didn't know this energy and the space with the civil rights movement, etc. Our family really didn't speak about the differences. We I realized later that we really focused on what we had in common in any community. So I didn't know as a child many things, and they scared me. I became very introverted and didn't speak. People didn't know that I wasn't speaking, not because I didn't know because I didn't know the language. They thought it was something else. Um,
Can which country can you share which country you immigrated
Dominican
from?
Republic. I am born in Dominican Republic from Dominican parents, and I lived here in New York City, raised here in different Dominican and Hispanic culture, Corona, Queens, the Bronx and Yankee Stadium, Washington Heights, of course, where I had my college experience. And but so suffering that, and my parents being so strict, they really just allow me to go to positive things in the community, and I took advantage of that. So daughters are married to um, in high school of art and design there was martial arts, and in my neighborhood there was a school, and I was able to go to that. I was able to join dance competitions, anything.
Yeah, and you're a black
Yes,
belt,
taekwondo.
right? In which discipline? Taekwondo, that's right. You're a
Yes,
black belt. I remember as a kid just like, wow, my aunt is like this
mhm.
incredible like badass,
But you
really.
name it.
Like you were a black belt, you were performing all over the places. We would see you in shows. It
I
was really
actually
incredible.
danced with Tito Puente and Celia Cruz. I have wonderful experience, and all those experiences that have to do with the arts and recreation, and they they actually heal me, and I found my voice. And that's why I share what I share, because everyone has the power to heal their own self. And we just don't know most of the time. So as we communicate and we guide and we listen, which is the key of helping people, doing reflective listening, helping people hear themselves and figure out their own self through arts. Movement is incredible because it has its own holistic happiness with the endorphins kicking in your body. And if you could find that the earliest, it would prevent you from even other addictions that you could get involved in. So you could have a natural high, as I see it. So all those things are incredible. Most of all, there's a meditation aspect of it, because even though you're moving, you're expressing yourself, and you're leaving all those negative thoughts, everything that worries you. It's out. It's clear. And as you meditate and clear your head, whether it's movement or not, it could be art, poetry. Um, it's different for different people what you gravitate to. For me, I could never. I just kept introducing myself to new arts, and it was wonderful. Um, Most of all, in that place of healing and meditation, you find your inner voice and you become clearer about yourself and your intuitions. And lo and behold, um, you um, you learn that giving and receiving are the same. Short, is
Thank you for sharing that. I really want to lift up what you said about sort of the natural high from movement and dancing, and how that's a a substitute or a replacement for sort of the negative addictions. Um, and so, I mean, I think that speaks to how you know how recreational therapy and movement therapy really supports people. You've worked with different populations. I know you worked with uh addiction, the population addiction. You worked with in the older adults and senior centers, and those having dementia. You've worked with people with intellectual disabilities, and you listen and you help sort of bring out the power that they have in their own bodies
okay.
through movement.
Yes,
So it's
thank
very
you. I
special.
also work with Sinahia, with adults with disabilities, and that was very powerful. We actually did a presentation of using the Manhattan Neighborhood Network and doing a whole show and film with art and dancing in Central Park, and they just loved it.
That's wonderful. And so so you've led through recreational therapy, and I love this whole you give and you receive. Um, because leadership is all about collaboration. I also really appreciate it and want to lift up the immigrant experience, and how that shaped and formed your leadership, and your career path. So if you could, I think you shared it here, but if you could, give one piece of advice to the next generation of leaders, uh, what would that be?
Short, short. It would be to really continue. This generation, particularly, I find does have a voice. They are proud and they speaking to continue to assert themselves. It could be softened up a little bit, a little less aggressive, with more assertiveness, remembering um, that yes, their voice is important, and so is their intuition, and in continuing to follow their voice, to continue to educate themselves, whether they're Googling or researching or going to the university. It's very important to continue to educate themselves on them who they are with their mental health, fitness, and wellness. It's everything. The field of recreation, I actually had a divine message sent to me with the name itself, recreation. When you slow it down, recreation, to recreate. And there's a spiritual scripture that says, recreate your mind. And that's why we're here. Anything that would stop us is really us in our own mind. There's something to that. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. And that's us. So the more we get involved with listening to our intuition, calming down, meditating, letting um, our own self be heard, and educating ourselves, and remembering that each time you help yourself, you are helping another person. Give permission for other people to be themselves. freedom. I think Nelson Mandela said something in that effect. Um, when you give permission for others to be themselves, it's just wonderful. So the next generation should be themselves and just continue with positive energy and education and kindness always as they live in our community.
That's wonderful. Authenticity is a superpower, is a tagline we say here in the Building Leadership Community podcast, and it's part of the Coach Dora mission. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad you won the raffle.
Well,
Um, and so I would love for you to share with our listeners and viewers a little bit more of how they can learn more about you and from you, and how they can connect with you and learn more about Carmen's
yes,
Culture Mix.
yes. Carmen's cultural mix. And before I even go there, I have to say I do believe in miracles. So, like the way I got in this show is incredible. And right now I'm actually dancing in the church I attending at Bethlehem um, Church of God with Ivan Haley Christians teaching there in the dance ministry. And I almost didn't pick the church, but I listened to my intuition, and lo and behold, like about shortly after, there's the proof that I'm supposed to be there. um, you can find me with the Healing Arts of Dance Ministry is going to be what I'm going to put forward in Carmen's Cultural Mix, Facebook, in LinkedIn, and I'm going to begin to do a little bit more tweeters.
Oh, you mean X? X? You're going to be on X. So I want to share with everyone that we are going to put those links in the description of the podcast, in the description on YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcast. So we will have information about Carmen Culture Mix linked in the description of the show. And so thank you. I think it would be fun to share with our audience and viewers that my podcast producer, aka my husband Dylan Rogers, that you led a dance lesson at our wedding, the cha cha. So Carmen brings dance everywhere to everyone, and we had such a great time in the 1980s party, just dancing up a storm. And so thank you so much for being
Oh,
here.
thank you, my
Love you.
darling. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for having me. And like I said, I'm just blessed to be born to this family.
You've been listening to Building Leadership Community. Watch on YouTube at Coach Dora M. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at Coach Dora M. Visit me on the web at CoachDoraMendez.com. Hosted by me, Dora Mendez. Produced by Dora Mendez and Dylan Rogers. Graphics, editing, and sound mixing by Dylan Rogers.